want to talk about gratitude, and specifically, how do we keep a spirit of gratitude and giving thanks for our blessings and just being thankful for all we have in life when we are a caregiver and life is probably not probably, if you're caring for someone that you love, it's definitely not what you would choose. Nobody chooses for their loved one, obviously, to be ill and to have challenges to where they need you there taking care of them. And, you know, we all know that life has ebbs and flows. We go through seasons, and specifically holiday seasons, where it truly is the, you know, fa la la excitement of decorating and having parties. And I know that's still different, even though COVID hopefully is getting better. I know that was different the last couple years. But on the whole, holidays are a time to be around our loved ones, to just celebrate, and, you know, that whole holiday cheer. When you're a caregiver, for me, I know it could feel like there was kind of a blanket over it. You know, there was always this shadow of what's going to happen, what's the rest of this journey going to look like. And sometimes just, oh my goodness, getting through the day is hard. And what do I have to be thankful for? You know, this is not the life that I would have chosen. And so I get that. I understand that. With my dad, who had early onset Alzheimer's, we had many holiday seasons when he was not himself, and several where he did not know us, and it was heart-wrenching. But I think we can find a way to still find joy every day. We can still choose to be grateful. And believe it or not, depending on where you are, this may sound impossible, but you really can still find the beauty and the wonder of just pulling out the good things in being a caregiver. And I know it takes intention, and I know that we can't be Pollyanna and act like, okay, just choose a life of gratitude and, you know, count your blessings every day and keep your gratitude journal, and you know, you can push through this and still be happy and everything's going to be okay, even if you're caring for that person, especially if they have dementia and all the patience that takes. You can still, you know, kind of transcend all this, and it's going to be just fine. I've talked to people who have that attitude. Typically, they're not people who have gone through the journey themselves, because I found that once I went through the journey myself, I was much more empathetic. As a social worker previous to that, I felt like I was empathetic with families. But until you go through it yourself, you really don't understand the depth of pain and the confusion, and sometimes the just trying to figure out how to get them in a peaceful place mentally. And you know, that can just kind of suck the joy out of the holiday season and Thanksgiving. So anyway, what I wanted to do today was share some things that I found helpful for myself, and just kind of pushing through and being determined that since we don't know how long this journey is going to last as a caregiver, and I always share with caregivers that truly is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I know there's always exceptions, but we have to take care of ourselves. We have to figure out a way, how am I still going to enjoy my life? Because life is too short not to. We don't know how long our caregiving journey is going to last. So how on earth do I figure out how to be happy, how to be at peace, how to find joy, how to be with my friends and family without being that, you know, that heavy person that when people see, it's like, oh my goodness, she looks depleted, you know, because I had someone tell me that once when I was caring for my mom, you just look depleted, you know, you look like the life's been sucked out of you. And I thought that was a bad day. And all of us have bad days. And please hear me say this. I am not, as I go through some thoughts and ideas, I am a firm believer that we have to grieve the losses. We have to let ourselves cry, because that's healthy. We know that if we don't cry and let ourselves grieve all the little losses, and sometimes the little losses aren't little, but I'm speaking of it in terms of, some of y'all may have heard of the book, The 36-Hour Day. In fact, we're doing it in our book club right now. But some times, the days feel like a 36-hour day. There's just too much to do. And on those days, you have to have a good cry. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's another book called The Long Goodbye, and that is very descriptive as well, because when you're caring for someone with dementia, it truly is a good, long goodbye. You're saying goodbye to all the little losses along the way. You know, every time they aren't able to do something, you know, the first time they're not able to dress themselves, if they're not able to recognize loved ones. I'm not going to go through the list, but, you know, as we know, there are a lot of losses leading up to that final loss when we say goodbye. And I lived it myself, but seen it in countless other people just as a social worker over the years. Those folks who really try to live in their Pollyanna bubble of, you know, this isn't, I'm going to continue my life and I'm going to kind of, well, honestly be in denial and not grieve those losses. When that final goodbye comes, it's so much more catastrophic and sad. When we allow ourselves to grieve all the little losses along the way, each time we do that, we get stronger. It's like we build our coat of armor, not a defensive wall, but just this fortitude and resilience of, this is hard, but I'm getting stronger. I'm getting more resilient. I'm developing more compassion and love and empathy for others who are on this journey. And those are some of the things I think that I focus on, you know, currently going through another personal situation that I will not go into, but I can truly empathize with people who are in the thick of it. So allow yourself to grieve. I know I became a shower weeper, and it was more days than not with my mom that I just allowed myself, you know, 20 minutes, I'm in the shower. I saw it as cleansing. You know, showers, a nice hot shower, you feel like, okay, I'm washing myself clean, I'm cleansing. But I also, this may sound really bizarre, it became a spiritual practice for me. I'm not only washing away, you know, dirt, grime, whatever. I am purging myself spiritually. I am grieving for my mom. I wish things could stay the way that they were. I hate this journey. I hate Alzheimer's, but I love my mom. I love life. I have a faith that tells me I have a creator and she is going to be an eternity soon. And I would allow myself to have that good sob, sometimes a complete meltdown. And then after that, though, I would start filling myself with, okay, these are the positives. I'm not going by notes today, as you may tell. Those of you who have been with me in groups know I kind of go down rabbit trails, but that's okay. I do have a little outline, so I'm going to reel myself back in. But anyway, during, you know, I think it's easy to have a picturesque image of what life is going to be like. And one of the first things we need to do to practice a life of gratitude is to think, I have to let go of that image of what I thought life was going to be like. And I have to find joy in the life I'm actually living. Because we can't, especially as a caregiver, you know, it's in your face every day. You can't hold on to the fairy book image of how you imagined, you know, those last years with your spouse to be, or if you're in that sandwich generation and you're caring for children and you're caring for your parent, you know, you weren't expecting to have that push and pull from both. And we have to say, okay, this is life. I love the old saying, I'm not sure who the first person is who said it, but, you know, life is going to give you cacti, you know, but if life gives you a cactus, you don't have to sit on it. You know, you can choose to find the good. So how on earth do we do that? And I think one way I do that is I often think of people who throughout history have been able to transcend it and found joy and help others through horrific circumstances. Corrie ten Boom was one, if y'all know of her. She was a Holocaust survivor. Another is Anne Frank. And one of my quotes by Anne Frank is, I don't think of all the misery, but all the beauty that still remains. And you think, if a teenager in war-torn Germany could still find something to be grateful for, I think we can do that as well. The fact that in her youth she was still able to transcend that suffering somehow, and that's just amazing to me. And so I think about people like that, and I think, you know, throughout history there are so many people, and I don't mean to ramble, but I think when we're going through our own challenges, such as caregiving, and we're trying to figure out how we maintain a life of gratitude, try reading some autobiographies or just biographies or just inspirational writings of people who have weathered just unimaginable atrocities, but they came out the other side a changed person who had transcended it and were changing the world. And not only that, on the inside, on the backside of it, but while they were actually in the thick of it, living the story, many of them were just so inspirational. And not that they didn't grieve, not that they didn't have emotions, but underlying that, there was still this peace. So sometimes, we have that kind of a blanket, a shadow of this is hard, but yet we can still at the same time see the sun, see the hope. So it's just kind of a dichotomy that we have to learn to live in. So, how do we do that just on a day-to-day basis? I think that's the challenge. And I think one of the ways is you have to find something to do every day, something to look forward to that's going to bring you joy. And that, some seasons that may be, okay, I'm going out to do something for several hours, or, it's maybe bigger, depending on where you are in your caregiving journey. It may be, I'm going to sit and spend 20 minutes having a cup of coffee and reading a good book, or I'm going to go out this evening and I'm going to be able to sit on my back porch, or I'm going to be able to go for a walk. For me, being outside is instrumental during the caregiving season. Today it's rainy. I'm still going to sit out on my porch for a while because obviously vitamin D is important for our mental health and our physical health. So that's important, but something about being outside, because it's not just what the weather is doing, and just like right now appreciating, you can go outside and think, I'm so grateful for the vibrant leaves. I'm so grateful for the change of seasons. And, it's easy for me to find gratitude in nature, in the spring, just, the birds and the butterflies. So I get all that. And I think that is a great way to maintain a life of gratitude, is being outside more. But it's not just in nature and enjoying creation. I have learned that it just opens up the world. I think when we're a caregiver, especially if you're an isolated caregiver who's primarily at home, sometimes I know it can feel like the four walls are closing in on you, and there being in your home, in that room with your loved one, especially if they're already bedbound, that becomes your world. Or even if you and your loved one are going out and you have a routine, coming back home, those four walls become your world, and sometimes that can be very isolating. So being outside opens, literally and figuratively, it opens your eyes to see the world is bigger than my experience right now. This too shall pass. It truly will. I mean, we have no idea how long that journey is going to be, but being outside, spending time there, meditating, just walking, or just simply sitting, looking up into the night sky or the beautiful sunrise, and you think, life is bigger than me. Life is bigger than my experience, and I can be grateful that I'm part of this big, beautiful world, even though right now this journey is hard, and you can do that in spite of that. I want to share something that Vicki Nolan Fitch, some of y'all may remember her. We did her book, Dementia with Grace, during our book club with the Council on Aging. And she has a practice that I have adopted that I love. And she says what she does when she's meditating, she's thinking about, I'm going to breathe in grace, and I'm going to exhale gratitude. So she's breathing in, and she has a traditional Christian faith. I know a lot of people have different spiritualities, and whatever that looks like for you as far as your higher power. I call mine God, Jesus, Yeshua. But a lot of people, it's the universe, Allah, just whatever that is to you. You're breathing in that grace, that divine love. And then you're exhaling gratitude, just that for all that divine being has done for you, for all of creation, for all of love, for all that life offers us as far as relationships and the goodness. And so you're constantly breathing in divine love, grace, and mercy, and then exhaling the gratitude, the thankfulness, the concrete things. That's what I think about when I do my exhale. Thank you for food and water, and then thank you for your grace and love. I'm receiving that, and then exhaling. So again, it's breathing in grace and exhaling gratitude. Breathing in grace, exhaling gratitude. And it's amazing how a simple little practice like that will kind of shift your focus. Plus, we know physically when we're doing deep breathing, it cleanses us. It just it releases those endorphins and that serotonin, and that's all a good thing. And just a little pointer I learned not long ago: if we are exhaling longer, backwards. If we're exhaling, I'm gonna get it right, bear with me. If you're inhaling through your nose and then obviously exhaling through your mouth, a little pointer, you smell the roses, blow out the candles. But as you're doing that, make sure you're always blowing out longer than you're breathing in. I just started doing that, little tweaking, but and that makes a difference. So you're breathing out that gratitude. A few other things, just finding something to bring joy every day. And I know it's a very old practice, but it still rings true. I think Oprah was really big on keeping a gratitude journal every night, making sure that we list the things that we're grateful for, no matter how small they are. Modern conveniences, and grateful for our children. But we can also find gratitude and experience joy in direct care and the actual journey of caregiving. And I know that's hard for some people to believe, but I found through Namaste Care, and I'm not going to take the time to go in that today. Y'all can search it, Google it, or you can contact me and I can send you some more information on it. But it's just, Namaste. A lot of people relate it to yoga, but it's I think literally it's the divine light in me bows to the divine light in you. And regardless of your, like I said before, regardless of your spiritual background, basically it's just appreciating that person, they are a spiritual being that still has beauty and purpose. And for us to see that, and sometimes, believe me, I know I don't want to paint this picture. If you're dealing with difficult behaviors, or maybe your loved one isn't this, like my mom, I always called her Sweet Gladys. Some people are not that way, and it takes a lot of effort to love them and care for them. So please know I'm not trying to be dismissive of how hard some people's journey is. But at the same time, if you can just somehow dig deep, and you may have to dig really deep, and see that person behind that behavior that is so difficult, there is this spiritual being that we need to value and give love to. And with Namaste Care, especially if you're doing direct care, as you're bathing them, as you're just going about your daily routine, maybe they're not, that far in the journey, and it's just they're up and about. But as you sit with them, just really looking at them and thinking, I wonder, what all this person has been through that has brought them to this place. Back when I used to, bathe my mom and washing her hands, and I would say this out loud, and I think it's important to share these things with our loved one. Mama, I wonder how many hands, how many fruit, what were they? Her icebox cookies. I wonder how many fruit icebox cookies your hands have made, because that was always her thing at Thanksgiving and Christmas. And just taking time to pause and slow down from the hustle bustle of the holidays, and just spend time with that person, reminiscing, maybe if they're in the earlier stages, pulling out old holiday photos, and just spending time to reminisce. Because I find often reminiscing makes me grateful that, okay, this season isn't going to be the best, just have to be honest, there's going to be challenges. However, boy, there were some good memories in the past, and I'm going to hang on to those and have hope. Hope's a very big part of gratitude. I'm going to have hope knowing that if this isn't the best Thanksgiving, there's going to be good Thanksgiving, better Thanksgiving, and maybe even the best Thanksgiving is still yet to come. So I think finding joy every day, certainly. Learning to breathe in the gratitude, breathe in the grace, exhale the gratitude, and then just being spiritually and emotionally present and feeling it all, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly. Allow yourself to have those meltdown good cries to purge it, or else it's going to build like a pressure cooker and it's going to explode in anger, depression, all those things that we don't want. So allow yourself to weep when you feel it welling, and then know that this too shall pass. And we're not going to have to sit on this cactus, you know. We can choose to rise above it and actually transcend it. In fact, Dr. Edwards, in his book, Much Abides, if you haven't read it, you need to get it. Dr. Edwards actually lives here in Charlotte and opened a nonprofit neurology center called Memory and Movement Charlotte. He is phenomenal, as is everyone who works there. But in that book, he talks about transfigurative attentiveness. That's a mouthful. Transfigurative attentiveness. And in it, he talks about how as caregivers, if we can somehow immerse ourselves in the experience and really be intentional about finding the beauty, that it truly is possible. He cared, and he's not just speaking, you know, as a physician, you know, who's working in memory care and with neurologists. He cared for both of his parents who had Alzheimer's. I mean, he's one of those folks we would call a wounded healer, who's, you know, offering healing and hope to others because he was so deeply wounded himself. And, you know, all of us who have done that, we still carry those wounds. But part of the beauty is finding out, like I said before, we're stronger, we're more empathetic, we're able to help others. And I know through your journey that that's possible. And for most caregivers it is. You know, you come out the other side wanting to help those other people because you see that there can be beauty in it. And he talks about how you can find beauty in the most unlikely places, you know, if we choose to do that. And, you know, I mentioned the Namaste care, and I think that's a wonderful way to try to find the beauty in caregiving. And also just how, you know, I've talked about this before in our support group often, how when a person has dementia, they are literally going through the developmental stages in reverse. And in that, you can find beauty. Now, I know some of you may be rolling your eyes and thinking, yeah, there's a big difference. You know, when you're raising your children, you're looking forward to the next milestone. When you're caring for someone with dementia, you're dreading what the next season's going to look like and how long is this going to last. So I get that it's not celebratory the way it is, you know, when you're going forward. When you're going backwards, sometimes it can honestly be heart-wrenching. I know it sounds strange, y'all, but you really can still find the beauty in that. And again, not minimizing it. Sometimes when I say things like that, I feel like people are thinking you have no idea the pain I'm going through. And I would never say, yes, I know, because I don't know your individual journey. Everybody's path is different. Their course is different. But I know there were lots of tears, deep, deep heartbreak with both of my parents. So I don't want you to think I'm being dismissive. But that's part of life. That's the ebb and flow of life. The good, the bad, the ugly, the hurt, the joy. But we are resilient people. And I think for that alone, we can be grateful. But let me get back on track here with the developmental stages going in reverse. As hard as that can be at times, you can still find the wonder. You know, and sometimes the wonder it just enriches our lives. For example, and it gives us more insight in how to provide care, quite honestly. Because in those earliest stages, you know, sometimes it's like having a defiant teenager. It's like, oh my goodness, they can't drive, but they're determined that they're safe. And, you know, then they get that attitude of, you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm my own person. And sometimes, you know, they actually say those words. And if not, that behavior of stubbornness and defiance and, you know, it's in those early stages where they're just not thinking clearly. They don't have that delay of gratification. They don't have safety awareness. And that's hard. And, you know, we can't make light of it like we would with our teenagers, but we can still think, okay, this awful disease that they have, they're going to continue to progress through this. So this stage is not going to last forever. And you have to find humor in that. And we can be grateful that we can still laugh at things. Sometimes we have to choose to laugh instead of cry. And so you can do that in those earlier stages as things progress, and especially as they become more childlike. for me, that was one of the most beautiful stages, when I could see the childlike wonder, and my mom and dad both. My mom, who was always loving and nurturing, but she didn't show that physically. She became very cuddly, very wanted just to snuggle, and I was able to find beauty in that. I know we have a next door day respite program that some of you may know of, and several of my caregivers have told me recently, he's just kind of a different person now. He's softer. I'm able to enjoy that. He tells me all day how much he loves me and how beautiful I am. So, you can think, I'm seeing a different part of their personality as this disease is softening them. And then as they progress even further, a lot of people don't reach this stage, but with my dad, since he was so physically healthy and it was early onset Alzheimer's and he died just of that disease. And so I never, the reason I'm saying that is I don't want people to think that your loved one is the end will look like my dad's did, because I don't think this is typical. But with him, he literally in those last months, just losing the weight and just losing the ability to swallow and to eat, and he contracted into the fetal position and then became contracted there. And as heart-wrenching as that is, again, I don't want to minimize it. I'm certainly not trying to end this on a sad note of what that can look like. But in that, I just was thinking about just the beautiful cycle of life and how he was able to get back into that tight, comfortable place of being in the fetal position for his passing. And I know that may sound morbid, but I think it's in how we see it, and if we could change our focus for me especially, and I hope regardless of your spiritual background, if you have that hope to say, okay, that wasn't it, that wasn't the end. He was in that fetal position when his spirit passed. There was something bigger, something better, and again, I'm not, I know everybody has a different faith background, but just that spirituality of letting that spirit go and be free. I could still be grateful for his life, for his journey, everything he taught me. And that was not a journey I would have chosen, obviously. No, that's not the way I would have wanted him to die. All of us want to die quickly in our sleep. But even in that, his suffering made me stronger so that hopefully I can reach out and help other people. And so if in your journey, and especially this week of Thanksgiving, if you can just think, as hard as this is, there's going to be a purpose. And I can tell you of countless people that I work with daily at our next door day respite program, spouses who they're already seeing their sense of purpose in helping other caregivers. And there's kind of like this tribe, of rallying around each other to where we can lift each other up. So I just encourage you, and I do need to wrap this up, if you are in a place to where you feel isolated, and it's such a dark place that you really don't feel anything to be grateful for, and you just feel like you're being sucked under with this weight of caregiving, not knowing the future, not knowing if you're going to have the strength and the resilience and the resources to do it, please reach out to us. If you live in Union County, it's Council on Aging in Union County, and if you don't live in Union County, you can still reach out, and I'll get you in touch with, a Council on Aging in your area, or the Area Agency on Aging is a wonderful resource that can put you in touch with somewhere where you can get help. Every county, every state's different, but believe me, no matter where you live, there are people who are willing to help. But anyway, it may sound kind of silly to close with something by Mr. Rogers, but I'm a big Mr. Rogers fan. And one thing that he shared on his show, and this isn't an exact quote by any means, but it has become a famous quote of his, but he shared how when he was small and he would see some type of tragedy or trauma, his mom always encouraged him to find the helpers. She said, there's always helpers, you just have to find them. And so even in that simple way with a child, she was teaching him, don't focus on the negative and the hard thing, find the good people, find the helpers that are going to help you get through this. And so that's what I encourage all of y'all to do, is to find those people who can rally around you. Often those are other caregivers who might be further along in the journey or have more experience. And sometimes they're just like you, exact same place, similar personalities, but you can just draw strength from each other. Because believe me, if there's one thing I know, there's not just safety in numbers, there's comfort in numbers. So please don't isolate yourself during the season of Thanksgiving. Reach out to others, reach out to us at the Council on Aging, and I'll put our phone number up at the end of this. So let us know if you need a listening ear, because we're here. But anyway, I just hope all of you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and that you're able to find the joy, that you can get outside, even if it's cold, wrap up, just look into the night sky, and be grateful for this beautiful gift of life, even through all of its challenges. It's become a famous quote of his. But he shared how when he was small and he would see some type of tragedy or trauma, his mom always encouraged him to find the helpers. She said, there's always helpers, you just have to find them. And so even in that simple way with a child, she was teaching him, don't focus on the negative and the hard thing. Find the good people, find the helpers that are going to help you get through this. And so that's what I encourage all of y'all to do, is to find those people who can rally around you. Often those are other caregivers who might be further along in the journey or have more experience. And sometimes they're just like you, exact same place, similar personalities, but you can just draw strength from each other. Because believe me, if there's one thing I know, there's not just safety in numbers, there's comfort in numbers. So please don't isolate yourself during the season of Thanksgiving. Reach out to others, reach out to us at the Council on Aging, and I'll put our phone number up at the end of this. So let us know if you need a listening ear, because we're here. But anyway, I just hope all of you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and that you're able to find the joy, that you can get outside, even if it's cold, wrap up, just look into the night sky, and be grateful for this beautiful gift of life, even through all of its challenges. With that, I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving.